I'm 73 years old, and before you judge what I'm about to say, understand this. I'm not speaking from theory, motivation, or borrowed wisdom. I'm speaking from time, from mistakes that cannot be undone, from years that disappeared quietly while I was busy believing I had more of them. Everything you think you know about getting older, about success, about waiting for the right moment, almost all of it is wrong. Not because people lied to you on purpose, but because they were repeating the same misunderstanding they inherited. For the first 50 years of my life, I lived exactly the way society rewards. I woke up early, worked hard, stayed disciplined, delayed pleasure, and told myself it would all be worth it one day. I believed life was something you earned after proving yourself. First responsibility, then freedom. First sacrifice, then happiness. That logic sounds reasonable when you're young. It sounds mature. It sounds wise. And it is the biggest trap of all. I built a career that impressed people who barely knew me. I chased promotions that came with applause, but stole my sleep. I bought things I didn't need to signal a success I didn't feel. From the outside, I looked stable. Inside, I was always rushing, always tired, always slightly empty. But I ignored that feeling because everyone around me felt the same way, and we called it adulthood. At 52, my body interrupted the story I was telling myself. Doctors later called it a cardiac event. I call it the moment my illusions collapsed. I was sitting in a meeting discussing quarterly numbers that once felt urgent and important. Then my chest tightened. The room tilted, sounds faded, and suddenly the future I had been planning so carefully disappeared. I woke up in a hospital bed surrounded by machines, measuring whether I would continue existing. Tubes in my arms, wires on my chest. My wife standing nearby, silent, terrified, trying not to let me see it. A doctor told me I was lucky. At the time, that word made me angry. Lucky felt like the wrong word for a man who had just realized how close he came to dying without ever truly living. Lying there with nothing to do but think, a realization settled in slowly and painfully. If I had died that day, my life would have ended neatly, responsibly, and hollow. I would have left behind proof that I worked hard, but very little proof that I was present. I had postponed so much of life, but life itself had quietly slipped past me. That's when I finally understood the most dangerous sentence we tell ourselves. I have time. You believe it when you're young because time feels infinite. Days are long. Years feel slow. You assume tomorrow will always arrive carrying the same people, the same health, the same chances. But time doesn't work that way. It moves silently. One day you're planning, the next day you're remembering. I spent decades believing happiness was scheduled for later. Later when work slowed down. Later when finances stabilized. Later when responsibilities eased. But later never arrived. Every phase came with its own demands, its own excuses, its own reasons to wait. And waiting became a habit, so normal. I didn't even notice it stealing my life. I climbed for 30 years, promotions, titles, recognition, and only at the top did I finally look around and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. The painful truth is not that I chose wrong. It's that I didn't question the choice soon enough. Time doesn't refund years once you understand their value. No. One tells you that success is emotionally addictive and spiritually empty. You achieve something and feel powerful for a moment. Then the feeling fades. So you chase the next thing, and the next. Always one achievement away from satisfaction. That chase keeps you busy enough to avoid asking harder questions. Questions like, do I like my life? Do I recognize myself? Do the people closest to me feel close? I had a friend who embodied everything society praises. Long hours, endless discipline, no complaints. He built a business people admired. He postponed vacations, missed birthdays, delayed rest. He always said he'd slow down next year. Next year arrived as a stroke. At his funeral, his son stood up and said, calmly and honestly, "My father was successful, but I barely knew him." That sentence matters more than any resume you will ever build. The regrets that come with age are not dramatic. They don't announce themselves. They appear quietly in moments of silence. The places you never went, the conversations you avoided, the love you assumed would wait. I don't regret failed deals or missed opportunities at work. I regret the evenings I chose productivity over presence. The times I was physically there, but mentally elsewhere. My father died when I was 45. We had a complicated relationship, and I kept telling myself we'd talk properly when life slowed down, when work became manageable, when stress eased. Life never slowed down. He was gone within hours, and no amount of success has ever made that regret lighter. After my heart attack, something shifted. Not immediately. Change is slow when habits are deep. But I started to understand that time was not something I owned. It was something I was borrowing. And borrowing something precious changes how you treat it. I said no more often. I stopped explaining myself to people who didn't truly care. I began choosing experiences over appearances, presence over productivity. In the last 21 years, I have lived more than in the 52 before them. Not because life became easier, but because I became intentional. I spent time with people without checking the clock. I traveled without waiting for permission. I pursued interests without asking if they were useful. I forgave people I had carried resentment toward for decades, not for them, but for my own peace. Here is what no one teaches you early enough. Meaning is simple. It's not found in accumulation. It's found in attention. Who you give it to, what you protect, what you refuse to sacrifice. Time with people you love, work that feels honest to you, moments that you actually remember. I know what you're thinking. Bills, responsibilities, reality. I had those too. I'm not telling you to abandon responsibility. I'm telling you not to abandon yourself in the process. Too many people reach old age, having fulfilled every obligation except the one to their own life. Ask yourself something without lying. If you died tomorrow, not years from now, tomorrow, would you feel satisfied with how you lived? Not impressed, not admired, satisfied. If that question makes you uncomfortable, it's because part of you already knows the answer. I have grandchildren now. I watch them rush, stress, chase, worry. I see myself in them. I try to warn them, but wisdom is difficult to accept when you're still running. That's why I'm telling you, because you still have time. Just not as much as you think. Stop waiting for life to slow down. It won't. Stop assuming love will always be available. It isn't. Call the people you miss. Take the trip you keep postponing. Say what you feel while you still can. Do the thing that scares you but makes you feel alive. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what matters. I'm 73 years old. If I'm lucky, I have a handful of good years left. And I'm at peace with that. Not because I achieved everything, but because I finally learned how to live before it was too late. Time is passing quietly for all of us. The question isn't how long you'll live. It's whether you'll wake up before life becomes something you. Only remember, what are you going to do with the time you still have?